Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The West, now in the name of Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, is crying that the liberal democracies, I have a problem with that, is liberty democracies, liberal democracies are losing to the autocracies. And this guy doesn't know why. He said, how come we have this beautiful liberal democracy in Europe, in the West is the best, and we are losing the propaganda war against the evil guys. As I said, if something is, in previous videos, if something is self-evident, you don't need to protect it. If something is good by itself, in itself, people will instinctively go towards what's good, what's beneficial to them. Well, it seems like they have to defend these liberal democracies in Europe. So, what's going on? Europe is in a state of accelerated decay, moral decay, social decay, economic decay. Only stupidity decay is not there. The stupidity is thriving, and delusion. Now, what is delusion? Delusion is when we imagine things that are not there regarding an incident or situation or something. That's delusional. Like, I think I'm, as good as Napoleon, or even better than Napoleon Bonaparte, but I have no evidence, but I think I am. And I keep acting upon that without any evidence. Now, when you have a problem, how do you solve a problem? You have to be sincere, honest with yourself, and objective, and you have the desire to solve the problem. If you don't have the desire, you will not. And that is, you accumulate to get the evidence, objective evidence that really pertains to the case that you want to solve, and then you are going to reach a conclusion. If that conclusion runs against or solution runs against your interest, you want to solve it or you don't want to solve it. And then is the subjective ego coming in. So what do we have here? I have an article coming from Russia Today with Friedrich Merz, who says that he laments about West losing its soft power. And he claims that it loses it because people can't just see what's good for them. And the evil guys, who it seems like they're winning, not the liberal democracies, the self-evident truth, so-called, they are winning by propagandizing us in the West. And they're losing the propaganda. It's like mommy and daddy, and you have an evil neighbor. And your kid is attracted to the evil neighbor and goes over there all the time, and you don't know what to do because you have the good stuff here. It's kind of like the schools, let's put it this way. The garbage schools, indoctrinating your children versus your values. The kid comes indoctrinated with idiocracies, purple hair, bowl snipping, I am who I am, I identify. They come home and you say, I didn't give you this education. Where did you come this one? Where? Well, they got propagandized by the evil guys, okay? And your good upbringing goes down the toilet. So, this is the umbrella topic, which is the liberal democracies are losing. And why? And Mr. Merz comes with a wrong answer. That means he doesn't want to accept reality. He's delusional. And to support this delusion, I will show you actually the European decay. And I will use a few examples. The first one is Georgia. Tbilisi. Tbilisi is the capital of Georgia. The liberal democracies are in that election and in the riots over there to their necks. But hey, they're liberal democracies. They're delusional. They're not liberal democracies, they're tyrannies. That's what they are. European Union is a tyrannical institution. And it's getting worse, acceleratedly worse. Since the Ukraine war. The Ukraine war just showed who these guys really are, even for the baboons, busy eating their little fleas from one another, even those, if they're a little bit 3 seconds attention span they need to realize these guys that supposedly are the liberal democracies are the tyrants. So I'm going to talk about the Tbilisi riots. And I have this little observation. It seems like only once, and mostly, when the left, the tolerant, they are the tolerant one, and the other ones are the rigid ones, because we want to be progressive. Exactly what? Towards what? Towards a little cliff, I guess, progressing and then falling and committing that. They are rioting, being violent when they lose. Now, if the elections were rigged, had you seen, let's say, the guys in America, the conservatives, supposedly they are the conservatives, on the right. When Trump lost, and Trump and others claimed it was the rigged election, it was stolen, and so on. Have you seen riots? Did they riot? Have you seen any? I don't remember seeing riots. You can say, whoa, Emil, remember January 6th insurrection. Remember that one? Well, I would like you to tell me about the 300 FBI or intelligence services agents infiltrated in that. We will go to the Capitol tomorrow. Remember that guy? All right, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Melps, whatever he was. And not only, there was an infiltrated, organized, directed riot. Nevertheless, it was that riot, okay? It started as a peaceful protest. They said, go home, and then it was hijacked. Whatever, that's my take on that. Nevertheless, everywhere, when the left loses, they do something. Romania, they did. Moldova, they did. Georgia, they try. And they're going to keep going. In France, the Prime Minister, Mr. Lecornu, the new one, just resigned after 27 days? Liberal democracy. All right, that's another one that I'm going to use here. I'm going to talk about the Georgian elections where the wrong people won again. And then these guys riot. They entered the presidential house in Georgia. Like people would just go into the White House. Like riot, break in and break and destroy. What do you think the Americans should do if this happens? Pakaraka, paka, 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 paka? Or what? Is that a revolution? Who's behind that? Liberal democracies? All right, then we're going to go to what? We're going to go to Hungary. Viktor Orban claims that European Union, the liberal democracy, interfering in Hungary's domestic policies. I'm very surprised, I will tell you, very surprised of what just happened in Czech Republic. Very surprised. But he's the populist, right? We'll see what that goes. He's a billionaire. Okay. And then we find out that Mr. Medvedev is right, which is maybe the Europeans should have a little bit of hysteria about the drones. A little bit of war scare will bring them back to their senses. This is Medvedev. I will cover that as well. And the last one, obviously, is going to be with Mr. Lecornu, who just said, I made the government, now I'm out. I wonder what deal he was offered. He's not going to go out. He's about, 40 or something? He's not going to go. He was offered a different position. Or he feels that Macron is on the way out. But if Macron is on the way out, he's the prime minister. What is he expecting to be the president? Maybe it's not the right time. But why did he accept to be the prime minister in the first place? All right, let's start with we are losing. And he's not going to reach the right conclusion. Why West losing its soft power? This is a statement. West is losing it. The soft power. You know what soft power is? I give you money, I blackmail you, threaten you, and all that, but I don't go further than that. Now they do. Newly emerged global autocratic alliances are conspiring to attack liberal democracy as a way of life. Now, my imbecile, if liberal democracy will be, how should I put it, the obvious milk and honey, those guys cannot woo me into that. They cannot, I'm not going to subscribe to that autocratic alliances. They can align themselves how much they want. They could be together how much they want. They will not penetrate our beautiful way of life. But it's not like that. Our beautiful way of life is garbage because of you and your guys in charge of us as elected officials, public servants, not leaders. They are public servants. We hire them to do something for us. There's not a leader, okay? Just so you know. That's an executioner, how do you call it? Executive branch. He's executing something that's coming to them. From where? From us. From us. All right. The West is losing its global eminence as autocracies wage a crusade. Why not, Mossad from Mossad. All right, crusade against liberal democracies. German Chancellor. speaking during a ceremony, he said that Merz acknowledged that the, and I'm quoting, appeal of what we call the Free West is visibly declining. It's decaying, not declining. It is no longer self-evident that the world will look to us, that our values of liberal democracy will be emulated, because you fucked them up, man. This is delusion. Our values of liberal democracies, where these guys really think they are as they probably used to be. Sometime Europe was always behind the United States of America in liberties, except, right to vote, slavery and all that. But they remediated that. But as of freedom of speech, as freedom in general, these guys in Europe are still under the kingship. They think, oh, it's a king, it's our leader, and so on. So let's go over this article. According to the German Chancellor, new alliances and autocracies are forming against us and attacking liberal democracy as a way of life because you screwed it, and they look for alternatives with supposed threats to the status quo simultaneously coming from within. Why from within? My friends, because you guys showed the people that supposedly you rule, as you like to say it, that you are not working in their behalf. That's what it is. Back in May, however, the era of uncontested US dominance is over, he said. Serious threats represented by China and Russia and other nations determined to beat us in every single domain, including freedom, from spectrum to lower Earth orbit to our supply chains and even our communication infrastructure. How about freedom, man? How about our way of life? How about our rights, liberties? No, he's not talking about that. He's talking about economics. All right, so Vance also said that over the past several decades, Washington exclusively focused on soft power and gotten into the habit of meddling in foreign country affairs, even when they had very little to do with the core American interest. So that's what you did, my friends. And what do I have here? Multipolarity has become a direct consequence of attempts to establish and preserve global hegemony, a response to the obsessive desire to arrange everyone into a single hierarchy with Western countries at the top, he argued. All right, but this is whom? This is Putin who said that. Rapid and drastic changes. This is what Putin says. And you have here Romania, where the country's top court annulled the results of the presidential elections last year. That's what happened with Georgescu. In Moldova, the same thing. And that gets me to Tbilisi, Georgia. Now, Georgia is not part of the European Union. They want to take it over. Why? Lebensraum, living space. That's what it is. And living space by what? By France, Germany, Great Britain. These are the ones, even though Great Britain or England is not in the European Union. So let's see what happened in Georgia, the liberal democracy. When they lose, they act like children. I hope they get smacked like children. I'm not promoting that kind of upbringing, but no marks under the child protective law. No marks, no abuse. Anyway, here it is. Protesters storm president's residence in Tbilisi. Clashes ensure. So this is the White House. These guys get in, and they have to sanitize this as much as they could, so you don't see how these guys are prepared. You see that guy over there prepared over there with a ski mask, with breathing, the same as this guy here. They made it in such a way that you don't see them, you see them from behind. It's good picture, but how many of these guys have the same attire? A large-scale anti-government demonstration in Tbilisi resulted in clashes with security forces after a group of protesters attempted to enter the president's residence. All right, and these guys say that the Georgia Dream government has lost its legitimacy. Some people decreed that. They've forgotten that the liberal democracies are won at the ballot box. That's where the liberal democracies are fought. Ballot box. You had your chance. Well, it was rigged. Which one is not rigged? Grow the fuck up. Now you lost. It was rigged by this guy. Next one could be rigged by your guys. By, let's say, what's his name? Saakashvili. Saakashvili was also charged with trying to produce a Maidan coup in Tbilisi. Saakashvili, you know who the guy is. The guy who was a Zelensky. in 2008, but NATO was afraid to act then. And Putin fucked them up from A to Z as the prime minister at that time. Next one. Tbilisi protesters who stormed presidential residence directed from abroad. Where do you think that is? From what abroad? Let me show you. From there, my friends. This is liberal democracy, okay? They don't like it, and they always show us, okay. The Tbilisi protesters who tried to break into the presidential residence courtyard are directed by foreign intelligence services. Georgian President Mikhail Kavalashvili said on Sunday. Unfortunately, in parallel, an action was underway aimed at overthrowing the government. The society saw acts of vandalism and anti-government calls. There are still forces in Georgia operating under the direction of foreign intelligence services. From where? From Russia? Well, you know, he's talking about the West. Next one. Georgian Prime Minister says protesters aim to topple the government, accuses EU of meddling. Oh, because no. They didn't meddle in Romania, or didn't meddle in Moldova. So here is it. This guy said that Georgian Prime Minister said the protesters who sought to force entry to the presidential palace the previous evening had been trying to topple the government and accused the European Union, liberal democracies, of meddling in Georgia's affair. Now, we don't know if that's true, but, you know, you can smell it. You can smell it. All right, next one. EU slams Georgia's local elections as uncompetitive and repressive. But in Moldova, they were perfect. Okay, and what pictures did these guys put in New Voice of Ukraine? Who have a dictator? They don't have a... That was, again, a liberal democracy in Ukraine. I will see it never. I don't know. And here you have a poor one guy, Tiananmen Square kind of lie, fighting just over there. He's just a regular person with two rings over there and the neck and whatever that's called, bracelet with a flag. He's a patriot, and these evil guys right there. We see them over there. Those guys over there will come and beat him up if it wasn't for these guys, just so you know. So this is the image portrayed. A protester wearing a Georgian flag walks towards police officers blocking the street during an opposition rally. It's just an opposition rally on the day of local elections, just an opposition rally. All right? So they condemn it right there. Bine. Next one. EU interfering in Hungary's domestic policies or politics. Orban. The Hungarian Prime Minister has accused the bloc's leaders in Brussels of conspiring with Kiev to install a pro-Ukrainian government in his country. So, I have no doubt, I tell you, I rarely say this, no doubt, I usually leave it at 99%, that the European Union is trying to hold on to a union that becomes more, they say, autocratic, tyrannical. They're not, okay guys, you came over, you joined the European Union. Now, we did it for this kind of values. Now, those values are kind of trampled, and then countries are saying, well, we don't like that, it's not what we signed for. Well, these guys, instead of saying, okay, whoa, what's going on? Let's solve the problem. In their delusion, no, everything is good, and you want to leave because you're a bad dude, we have to make sure that we're going to queue up. Through what? Through tyranny. Through actions of domestic politics interference. Hey, when the Russians did it to the Americans, everybody was like upset. Here, it's okay. You know why? Because in their delusion, they think they're doing the right thing to help the liberal democracies. And Orban obviously is a tyrant, right? A dictator. And that gets me to the next and the next topic, which is with the drones. Mysterious drones flights in NATO airspace, not in Europe or countries, no, have caused alarm across Europe. Here's what we know. No, fuck off, I'm not going to believe what you say. Associated Press, this is what we know. And it's going to give me pick and choose to make a narrative which is Russians are provoking and waging a hybrid war. Why? Right here. This is the guy. Russia's Medvedev says drone disruption is a useful reminder to Europeans of danger of war. That is, my friends, this is what's going to be, and that's a consequence probably of the delivery of drones to Ukraine unchecked black market, back to you. That's what's going to happen. I don't know if the Russians really had some drones. I suspect that those drones actually are one or other NATO actors. Okay? Great Britain, maybe some, as I said, criminal gangs over there, maybe some people, maybe the Russians provoking. It's all of the above. But to tell me it's the Russians only, I don't believe that squat. I don't believe it. And he says, well, maybe now you know how it is to be attacked, because you like to always punch from far away, jab, jab like Klitschko all the time, jab. You like to jab all the time, but never punch back or an uppercut, because someone needs to come close to give you an uppercut, no? Boom, boom, and they don't do that. So, next one. French Prime Minister resigns hours after proposing new cabinet. Sébastien Lecornu has stepped down after 27 days, making his tenure the shortest in French history. I think this guy, who was the defense minister at one point, I think, he is a guy who wants to get another job. I think he realizes that France is going to go liberal democracy. It's going to go south very, very, very fast, and he wants to be a rat abandoning the sinking ship as soon as possible. I think he realized that. Probably he was offered something, United Nations or NATO, and he said, fuck those guys. These guys are about their careers. Their careers, not about countries and people, nation, or les enfants de la patrie. There's not for that. So he's looking what is favorable to him, to his career. And I think it's not favorable. I think France, which had, I think, the bottom of this shows us something very important right here. Shortly after the news of Lecornu's resignation broke, the Paris stock market dropped 12%, making it the worst performing index in Europe. So whomever Mr. Lecornu let know before his decision got millions. Why? They knew this is going to happen. So he said, hey guys, I'm going to resign in about 5 days. So make sure you do the transactions on the stock market. When I resign, boom, you're going to make a kill, or you're not going to lose any money. Right? The euro has also seen a drop on 0 points, almost 1% on the back of potential instability. France's public finances have been under mounting strain, with a deficit reaching 5.86% of GDP in 2024 and public debt climbing to 113%, far above, and this is important, the liberal democracies, far above the 60% ceiling set by European Union rules. So, France is actually an infractor, is an illegality. It has to be 60% ceiling, but they're double, almost double. How in the hell you are accepted to be in the European Union? Liberal democracies. All these things, my friends, are seen by people and say, how come this is possible? I thought that is about justice, freedom, liberty, the values that we have. Those are the values. Some, okay, and you, you drove your car 2 miles above the speed limit, we're going to issue a citation, a ticket. So yes, the autocracies are going to win because these guys screwed up their liberal democracies. And it's very interesting when they talk about the liberal democracies. It's so strange. Because liberal democracies start from liberté, liberty. And that is freedom, more. But on the contrary, these guys try to control you with more laws, more policies, and everything else. That's not liberty. And the lefties, which are the, liberals, considered liberals, are the lefties. The lefties are the socialists, more regulation, the communists, more regulation. So how in the hell are you a liberal? Liberal means you should have more freedom, more liberties. You don't. More regulation means less freedom, as I think it was Aristotle or Plato saying that. He said, you can measure the freedom of a country with how many laws it has, and how many policies, and how many regulations. The more they have, the less freedom you have, if they're reading in the wrong way. What do I mean by that? When I was a child, I asked my father, what's the difference between communism and one of these difference between the communism and the Western freedoms and the laws. And he said, well, it's kind of like this. I mean, I was very young. It's kind of like this. In the communist Romania, you were told what you can do. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3. That's it. You got three options. That's it. Instead, on the other side, they tell you what you cannot do, which is you cannot do 1, you cannot do 2, you cannot do 3, and you can do everything else but 3. So everything but 3. Here they say you cannot do everything. You can do only 3. So this is the liberal democracies nowadays. They make so many restrictions, laws, regulations. Now, I'm not saying that you have anarchy. I'm not saying that. But more to that, like for instance, I'm just going to give you little examples. You have to go and when you ride the bike, you have to have a helmet and you have to do this. These are regulations. Or when you drive a car, you have to have a seat belt. Instead of saying no, if you want to have it, you have it. It's all your own life. You do it. That's liberty versus no liberty that my father explained. Instead of saying, ride your bike, man. That's it. Right? That's it. If you want to go only with your underwear, go ahead. No, 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 no. You have to wear a helmet. Now you have to not do this, not do that, not do this. They try to protect you. These are the socialists telling you that. Safety first. Fuck you. My life first. My liberty first. Safety. You don't care about my safety. You have to make sure that the Constitution is respected, and that's it. Let me take care of my safety, okay? Choo-choo-choo. All right, I'm just kidding. Not. So, thank you very much for being with me again today, my friends. I know this is a long video, but I felt the need to continue explaining, or not explaining, bringing up some news, some examples of how these guys in Europe, in the West, they are ruining us. They are ruining, and they are ruining because some of them are traitors, some of them are dumb, some of them are indoctrinated, but the real guys are not to be seen over there. The real guys who destroy us are not these guys. These are just the tip of the iceberg that you see. The guy at the joystick, or the command and control, you don't see them. You can guess them. You can sometimes say, who's behind that? Who's financing that? Who's that media? Why is that media saying that? Oh, he's owned by that. Who's that? Oh, there's that. What's the ideology? And you can pinpoint who the real guys are. And there are aliens. Not from Mars. Aliens of the European civilization I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about the Africans or anything like that. I think you know exactly who I mean. Someone who has a big grudge against us. And they had against the Babylonians, and they had against Egyptians and the pharaohs. Why? Because they were goat herders. Instead of saying, well, maybe I should create something, copy, and then go on my way. No, no, no. I will destroy them. So therefore, I make an equalizing situation, which is I'm better than you actually. Why? I don't know, but I am. I'm in charge of you. I'm going to go on and on, but thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.